So now's your chance to leave. Going once, going, there you go. Ay, ay, ay. All right, so let me see if I can find a clicker here. Is it on? Yeah, it is. All right, cool. So I know we just got done praying, but you know what? Prayer is one of the things you can't ever have too much of. And believe me, I need all the prayer I can get when I stand up here, so we're going to pray again. Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to come and to worship you tonight and to bring all of our problems and our concerns to you, knowing that you will answer each and every one of them in the way that is best for us individually, us corporately as a church, and for all the believers everywhere. Lord, be with us now as we delve into your word here a little bit in this teaching. And Lord, please don't let me say anything that is not absolutely true out of your word. And we ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. So, question. What is the one thing in your life that is absolutely, positively, unequivocably non-negotiable? Something that is just not open for discussion and something that you will not compromise on. Relationship with God, okay. What else? Huh? Salvation. All right, Roger? What else? Anybody else?
My faith.
Huh?
My faith.
My faith. Can you turn the monitors just a little bit, please? Okay, so now, great answers and appropriate for children of God, right? I did a little searching out on the internet. I want to give you some examples of what people in the world think are non-negotiable. Your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. It's the foundation of your success. When your needs are met, you thrive. Number 2, a healthy relationship with yourself. Yes, when you become your own best friend, you no longer need the approval of everyone around you. When you can say, I love you, and I honor you, and I respect you to you, then you can be and do and have anything that you want. Number 3, the way that you speak to yourself. Your life is a reflection of the conversation that you are having with yourself. Transform the conversation, transform your life, period. A clean and uncluttered living space. We all know that clutter is negative energy, and it will stop the flow of abundance into your life. Your values. When you are clear what you value and you live your life according to those values, you are unshakable. Number 6, having fun. Having fun is more important than working hard or working smart. Okay, here's some other things. These are a little bit longer. I have a code of ethics that I abide by in everything I do, and with regard to all of my relationships with people, with animals, and with my general social and natural environment. As I learn from others and from my own experience, I build on that. I don't do it for you. I do it for me. I stand by myself, my pride, my own words. If I say something, then I will fulfill it to the highest degree I can. Nothing in my life is non-negotiable. I'm open to consider all possibilities and all options. I don't see right and wrong. I see choices and consequences. When I face a decision, instead of asking myself, is it right? Is it wrong? I simply ask, am I willing to make the choice and then live with those consequences? I don't believe in some universal morality, not even for myself. Things change, people change, situations change, society changes. I change. I have personal principles, but none of them are set in stone. It changes over time, and I have no issue breaking any of them given the right situation. Wow. Wow. Hey, Hey, I got a news flash for them folks. All right? As children of God, yeah, we have a code of ethics too. It's called the Bible. Okay? I don't have to learn from others. I learn it from God Almighty through His Word in the Bible, right? I don't do it for me either. And I don't do it for you either. I do it to honor the Lord Jesus Christ. That's what we should be doing it for. I do see right and wrong. I see the choices that I have to make based on what God's Word tells me. And if I don't do what God's Word tells me, guess what? I live with the consequences of my sin. Okay? Yeah, things may change. People may change. Situations may change. Society may change. But guess what? The Lord God in His Word doesn't change. It cannot change. So, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to spend some time on non-negotiables for God's children. All right, instead of what we read here. Because personally, I couldn't deal with the clean house thing. So we're going to make sure that our lives glorify God and not the world and not each other. So here we go. Maybe. Hello? Okay, technical difficulties. Hold on. Put the cursor over on the on open song. I must have forgot to move it. There we go. Yep, too many. Back up. You're at the end. Hey, there we go. 7 non-negotiables for life tonight. Each one of them centered on the Lord. Each one of them should allow us to bring glory to Him alone, and each one of them essential for Christian growth. Okay? So, first one, seek God, not sin. The Bible tells us in Amos chapter 4 and verse 5, "For thus saith the Lord unto the house of Israel, Seek me, and ye shall live." God's the life giver. All right, it was He who formed man out of the dust of the ground, breathed into his nostrils a breath of life, man became a living soul. Genesis 2:7, right? We cannot find life in anyone, anybody, or anything else other than God. Problem is, even if we're saved, we're sinful. You know, what's the come thou fount of every blessing? You know, we're prone to wander. Lord, I feel it. You know, prone to leave the God I love. He's the creator of the universe. He's our creator. He made us for His pleasure. All right, made our souls to want to pursue Him, to know Him, to walk with Him. Nothing else. And that's what we should be doing. It's only as we pursue Him that we really live. Amos 5:4 reminds us where real life can be found. God says, "Seek me and live." These words ought to get our attention. And you know what? Seeking anything else but God just isn't negotiable. Number 2, fear God and not man. Proverbs 19:23 says, "The fear of the Lord tendeth to life, and he that hath it shall abide satisfied. He shall not be visited with evil." Our God's holy. He's the Lord God Almighty. He spoke, and the entire universe came into being. He formed us out of dust. He hung all the stars in the universe, and He knows all their names. If you stop for just a second and you think about that awesome power that He has, that should bring some reverence into your life. But, you know, and when they talk about the fear of the Lord, they don't mean as in dread, as in, but rather reverence, awe, just absolute worship, okay? And you know what? Everything that was created for His pleasure. We just get to go along for the ride. Those pretty stars, those Arizona sunsets, those aren't for us. Those are for Him, all right? But we just get to see them. That's pretty cool in itself. So here's the deal. If you care more about what men think of you than what God thinks of you, you'd best get you some fear of the Lord. All right? And then you're going to care about walking in His presence, not wondering, not caring what other people think of you. You'll begin to live your life in light of eternity. And then all of those people that snicker at you or give you a hard time when you try to give them a tract, guess what? They just won't matter anymore. Now, here's the other side of that coin. Our fear, our reverence for God ought to keep us from wanting to be around evil things, evil thoughts, evil attitudes, and, oh, by the way, giving in to their temptation. There was a preacher a bunch of years ago, a guy by the name of A.W. Tozer, that wrote, "It's impossible to keep our moral practices sound and our inward attitudes right while our idea of God is erroneous or inadequate." When you think about God and all that He is, that puts you in the right perspective, doesn't it? When we lose our fear of God and we lose our respect for Him and His commandments, then we start living lives that aren't accountable to Him or accountable to our church brothers and sisters, either one. All right? If we don't see right and wrong anymore, but we only see choices like that bozo I talked about a minute ago, it's real easy to fall into sin, isn't it? All right? So being accountable to anyone or anything or anybody other than God just isn't negotiable. Number 3, love God, not the world. The Apostle John tells us in his first epistle in chapter 2, verses 15 through 17, "Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but of the world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of God abideth forever." Another question. How many of you have ever gone to an open house for, some of these houses around here? Anybody? How many of you have ever intentionally gone to a house that you never in your wildest dreams could afford to buy? Yeah. And no, that's that cardboard box outside, man. You walk around in that thing, all right, and there's an indoor swimming pool. There's an outdoor swimming pool. There's like an outdoor kitchen. Ladies, there's a room just for shoes. There's another room just for purses. Hey guys, we ain't getting left out of this. There's an entire room just for reloading equipment. All right? There's another one just for your pistols, and then there's another one just for your long guns. Okay? You walk around that thing, you see the terrazzo tiles on the floor and everything, and you're like, whoa, I could deal with this. But then you got to remember something. Life ain't a house. All right? It ain't a movie theater in that house that seats 50. All right? It's not a position at work. It's not a big boat that you take up to Parker Lake where there's more boats than water. Anybody ever been to Parker Lake? I mean, it's like literally you can't see the lake. All you see is boats, right? The world wants us to be seduced into this love affair with all of the things around us. New cars, jewelry, whatever. But you know what? We need to be in a love affair with God. You should have left when you had the chance. Now, I'm not talking to Noah or Teresa, but men, when you first fell in love with your wife, or wife-to-be, as in Noah's case, did anybody have any doubts that you loved her? You could not have put a piece of tissue paper between the two of you. All right, you were inseparable. That is the same kind of devotion and preoccupation and love that we should have for God. That brand newfound new love with our wives, and wives with our husbands, with your husbands as well, okay? Not only do we need to be preoccupied, though, with God, but also with all of the people that are in our church family. We have to look out for their welfare. And guess what? We also need to look out for those that don't know Jesus and don't love him. And our focus should be on getting those people to know God and to love him like we do. All right, so that means that we should do the things that it takes to get them to understand what we know already about God and about Jesus. All right, so we do the things that, we give the homeless guy some money, or we give them clothes, or, you invite the neighbor's kids to church, or whatever it takes. It's like preacher always said, your neighbors ought to come up to you and go, you guys are weird. 3 times a week in church? You got to be kidding me. If people aren't thinking you're weird, you're not weird enough. All right, get weirder. We got to look at people with compassion, like Jesus, be moved to take action in the same way that he did, all right, so that they come to know him. Loving God first, doing what he wants, being concerned about his mission, his will, fulfilling his calling, just isn't negotiable. Number 4, believe God and not the deceiver. Chapter 8 of John, we see Jesus, he went to the temple to preach after the feast, and he was talking to the Jews that were there, and he just up and tells them, they're not doing the works of Abraham, but they have the devil for their father. Okay, so if you look at John 8:44, ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. Whether we're saved or not, sometimes we just don't want to believe the truth. Now, Nolan, you can't say anything. Anybody in here ever heard of something called the laws of propaganda? Roger? Okay. There are 7 laws of propaganda. All of them were, I don't want to say created because they weren't, but they were, what's that fancy word? Codified, all right, by a particular individual. Now, I'm going to give you a hint. He was a politician. Big whoop there. Come on, how many politicians don't use propaganda, right? But anybody have a guess as to who the politician was that codified these laws of propaganda? No, shh. You hush. Huh? Karl Marx? Close. His manifesto was read by this individual. Didn't know you were in a history. And Terry just finished looking it up on his thing. Gerbils? Joseph Goebbels, yes. Goebbels was a politician in Berlin, Germany, prior to the Second World War. He later became the chief propagandist for the Nazi Party. Huh? Indeed. Okay? One of those laws, and that's all we're going to talk about tonight, is just one of them, okay? Says, and I know y'all have heard this before, repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth. Anybody ever heard about that? Yeah. Okay. There you go. All you got to do is turn on the news, right? So here's my question. Why is it so easy to believe a lie? Huh? People are gullible. Okay, I'll buy that. Absolutely. Why else? You hear it so much. Depending on what the real truth is, you're absolutely right. Right? Our brains are actually hardwired to a point where the more we hear something, the more we tend to believe that that is the truth, even if it is an outright lie. Okay? Now, besides me, how many remember radioactive oatmeal? What? Yeah, they used to put radium in oatmeal because it builds strong bodies 12 ways. Yeah, that was before Wonder Bread. Yeah, back in the early 50s, when everybody was doing the duck and cover thing under the desks and stuff, they were actually putting, it was iridium, I think, in kids' oatmeal. And the government did the same thing. It's like, oh, this is good stuff for you. All right? You could name 1,000 examples out of history where, and not just the government, but political parties, individuals, cultists, let's talk about John Smith. Let's talk about the folks that did the Seventh-day Adventists, If you believe, or if you hear something long enough, you're going to believe it's the truth. We just get hardwired. Think about what you hear on the news. So-and-so came out. So-and-so wants to be referred to as they and them and those and whatever other adjectives are out there. All right? It makes it sound like that is the norm. You don't hear about good, law-abiding, church-attending, Bible bringing their kids up families, all right, because that doesn't make news. But you know what? In all of that nasty stuff, there is some good news. And that is that illusion of truth, or illusion, I guess I should say, and enunciate correctly, all right, that bad, the false stuff that's being said is the truth, it doesn't have to be. As long as we have the ability to see and know and hear and understand and provide to other people the real truth, then that illusion of truth will not win. Now, here's an easy question. Where do we find the real truth? Hey, what a concept in the Bible, right? John 17:17. Sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth. So, child of God, do you believe the Bible? Do you believe Scripture? Right? Scripture tells us, in addition to it being the true Word of God, that we have to have faith. Because without faith, it's impossible to please God. But again, what's our nature? Our nature is not to believe, isn't it? Okay? So, never forget that our adversary, the devil, all right, is the father of lies, and he is going to use every dirty trick in the book to get you to believe that the lie is the truth and the truth is the lie. Gee, does that sound like the news this morning or any other morning? Okay? He wants to destroy your witness. He wants to destroy your testimony. He can't take your soul. That's safe with Jesus. All right? But he can sure screw up your testimony to other folks. Okay? So he works to make us doubt God's promises and do that gossip. Gee, kind of sounds like Satan, doesn't it? Like the serpent. Gossip. Among the brethren in the church. Yeah, I know, went over your head, sorry. So, guess what? Believing anything other than God's truth just ain't negotiable. Number 5, obey God and not your appetites. 1 Corinthians 9:24 through 27 says this, Know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run that ye may obtain. And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. I therefore so run, not as uncertainly. So fight I, not as one that beateth the air, but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. Now, guilty. Most of us could stand to put a few of our appetites under better subjection, usually this one, okay? But here, they happen to be talking about all of our appetites in the flesh. Anything and everything that's contrary for us getting closer to God. All right? Things that are contrary to the Spirit, things that are contrary to sanctification, anything that keeps us from being closer to the Lord that we should be serving and loving. None of us are immune. I'm not going to ask anybody to raise their hand because everybody's hand would be raised. All of us occasionally stumble, we fall, and we give in to those lusts of the flesh, whether it's that second piece of cake or whatever. Okay? Our old man ain't dead, and we got to watch him because he will sneak up and he will slap us upside the head with a 2-by-4 first chance he gets. So we got to keep him under subjection. But the problem with that is every time that we give in, all right, the devil just uses that to launch an attack on us. Sometimes it's directly on us, all right, through doubts. Other times it's by the people that have seen whatever we did or thought or said or whatever, and then they start doing the, you claim to be a Christian, but you just thought, said, did whatever, all right? Or, you get those thoughts in your heads. Oh, you call yourself a Christian, but you just did, said, thought, whatever. A real Christian wouldn't do that. Man, you suck at this Christian stuff. Why don't you just give it up? Right? Again, he can't take our soul, but he can sure ruin our testimony. How many times, and I'm guilty, all right, I'll tell you, that I've done something that was not in the Spirit of Christ, and as I walked away or got out of that situation, that doubt on my shoulder was, boy, you just ruined your testimony with that person, didn't you? And then you go back and you apologize and you say, hey, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have done that, because I'm a child of God, and sometimes I do things that I shouldn't because it's my fleshly nature. But I want you to know that I'm very sorry for what I did. And you try to repair that testimony with that person. But on the other hand, every time that we do resist a temptation, it should, in the back of our mind, give us a little bit of boost of a confidence. I did it. Because the Lord God said, regardless of what the temptation is, I will always give you a way out of it. And we see that happen over and over and over again. And we build that confidence that the next time a temptation comes by, guess what? We're stronger and we can resist it better. And again, with prayer and with God's help. So obedience to God demands 2 things. 1, courage to say no to yourself, no to your appetites or our appetites, no to the lusts of the flesh, no to what's easy, and yes to carrying our cross. Second thing, demands faithfulness. That plodding every day, day after day endurance. All right, against the enemy, for God, for His call, and for everything that you suffer for His sake. Yielding to the cross, obeying God, just isn't negotiable. Number 6, serve God, not self. Isaiah 6:8 says, also I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then said I, here am I, send me. We normally talk about this verse with, with missionaries and stuff. But you know what? There's a lot of service in this verse as well, not just missionaries. Unfortunately, look out, I'm putting the clicker down. Service seems to be lost on some folks. Now, and I'm not saying anyone in this church, okay? Let me make that perfectly clear. Some people consider service, hey, preacher, the TP's down to 1 roll in the first stall. Hey, deacon, don't you think somebody ought to pick up them bulletins from the Sunday morning service before the Sunday evening service? What? Wait, what? Me? You want? Yeah, no, I can't do. What are people going to think seeing me down on my knees, reaching under his chairs, picking up bulletins? Oh, no. You need to find somebody else to do that. We just talked about obedience to God, didn't we? And that obedience should be complete surrender. Okay? And if we are completely surrendered to God, then we should be His willing bond slaves. Now, some people, that's kind of a weird term. They know what a slave is, but they've never heard what a bond slave is. A bond slave is just somebody who's subjected to the authority of their master. In our case, it's willing subjection. All right? We should be willing to do whatever the Lord Jesus asks us to do to further His plan for our life. Now, bring that back to what we were just talking about with service. That means we're to serve God not in any capacity we want, but in any capacity we can. There's a big difference there, okay? And I know you've heard preachers say this. If Jesus didn't think it was beneath Him to wash the apostles' nasty, dirty, stinking feet, then there is nothing in our Christian life that we should feel is beneath us. Okay? Well, I'd really like to help out with that, but, I already do X and Y and Z, and there's people in this church that just don't do as much as I do. Mr. Deacon, why don't you find one of them and let them do it and give them a chance to serve? Really? Really? Hello? If it needs done, just do it. If it ain't done, all right? You're doing it for the Lord anyway. You ain't doing it for them. If something needs done, just do it. Don't tell somebody else about it so they can do it. Just do it. Do it and don't tell the world you did it. Just do it and be quiet. God knows you did it, and that should be who you want to know did it, not everybody in the church. So that means you take out the trash, you scrub the dirty toilet that got missed, you sweep the sidewalk, you clean up a stinking kitchen, whatever. It doesn't matter who is supposed to do it. If it needs done, do it. All right? Now, if somebody's getting paid to do it, and they didn't do it, then here's what happens. After you do it, meekly, in the love of Christ, go talk to your deacon. All right? Why didn't I say go talk to the pastor? Because the pastor's supposed to be concentrating on spiritual things. He don't need to know there ain't no paper towels in the fellowship hall. All right? That's what deacons are for. Deacons take care of the temporal stuff so the pastor can do the spiritual stuff. Okay? By the way, when we witness, one of the things that we sometimes have to tell people because they've got wrong ideas about salvation is that good isn't good enough, right? You can't you can't good your way into heaven. Watch, preacher will steal that one, I'm sure. All right? But we say that you can't work your way into heaven. It's not good enough. Well, guess what? When we serve the Lord, good shouldn't be good enough either. Whatever it is we're doing, however we're serving Him, all right, again, scrubbing, toilets or whatever it might be, we should be doing it to the best of our ability, not just a lick and a promise enough to get by. Because who are we doing it for? We're serving the Lord, not the guy or the gal that, comes in and drops the piece of paper after we just picked everything up. We're doing it for the Lord, okay? Serving the Lord in every way we can, in as many ways as we can, as often as we can, just not negotiable. Number 7, worship God and not comfort. Habakkuk chapter 3, verses 17 and 18. Although the fig tree shall not blossom, neither shall fruit be in the vines, the labor of the olive shall fail, and the field shall yield no meat. The flock shall be cut off from the fold, and there shall be no herds in the stalls. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation. Hey, newsflash, nobody enjoys suffering. Doesn't matter what kind it is. Physical suffering, financial suffering, emotional suffering, doesn't matter. But that's the way that we grow as Christians. For those that were here Sunday morning when Tim Larkley was preaching, he talked about the pottery thing. Preachers talked about the pottery thing before that. You know, it's got to get fired before it's useful. Steel's got to be tempered. I was talking to Emily and Abby a couple of years ago when they were back in Indiana. They were doing the 4-H thing, and they actually took a blacksmithing class. You know, and they got to make things, you know, and Emily was saying, yeah, and one arm was great big and the other one was really puny because she was hitting the hammer with it and everything. But just like pottery has to be fired, steel has to be tempered, it has to be pounded before it's useful. And we're the same way. You know, we don't grow stronger and more useful during easy times. What do? We get lazy and apathetic. All right? We take God for granted. We take His love and His mercy and His goodness for granted. Suffering should remind us that God suffered when He had to watch Jesus on that cross. It should remind us that regardless of what we're suffering, it ain't one iota as bad as what He suffered on that cross, paying for our sins. You know, God loves us. And we should thank and love God for absolutely everything that He brings into our lives. And we know all things work together for good to them that love God, to those who are called according to His purpose, right? Romans 8:28, simple. So that means short paychecks, give thanks. Health issues, give thanks. Loss of friends and loved ones, give thanks. COVID, give thanks. I know that's hard, give thanks. All right? Because you know what? Do I have anything to back this up other than my faith in God? No, but that's enough. There have been people that have been saved because of COVID. I will guarantee you that. Okay? Because when they're laying there in that hospital bed and they got all that stuff down their throat, all right? And I'll bet you some of them nurses and doctors that watched what happened with Heidi, I'll bet you that made a lasting impression. They may not have gotten saved right then and there, but I'm going to tell you what, that seed got a real good watering. Okay? So it doesn't matter what you're going through. Give thanks. Our suffering ought to make us want to get closer to God, not to withdraw from Him, although that's what we tend to do sometimes. Suffering should remind us we're not the ones in control, and we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. But you know what? God is in control, and He does know what tomorrow's going to bring. Suffering results in growth. Growth means that we're more useful to Him for His plan, His will, His desires. Worshiping God every day, in every way, for everything and anything that crosses our path just ain't negotiable. So, there's 7 of them. Basic building blocks for Christians, all stages of their Christian walk, all stages of life. If we neglect them, we don't get to enjoy all of the benefits that God has for us. So, if you remember nothing else, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Father, thank You for our time together tonight. Pray that all of the folks that we have prayed for and we will continue to pray for this week know that You are in their lives and that You will absolutely answer the prayers in the best way possible for them to bring good to them and so that Your plan can be executed the way that You want it to be. Lord, be with us now as we go to our homes and help us to remember that the things that we do affect the people around us. And those people we need to love, and we need to love them to You. Lord, we ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. You want to hit the, yeah, just hit stop. Any questions? Why didn't I shut up 20 minutes ago?